Hi, it's Dwyer. Always 1776.com, a free site. Also money1776.com, a free site. Today's October 1st, 2025. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, folks, we're just looking for what's going to explode, both creatively and destructively in the future. You're an investor. You're wondering what the world's going to look like. You're not being normative. In other words, you're not arguing that it should be this way. Rather, you're really more being reactive. You're an investor. You want to know what's coming so you can structure your own portfolio to take advantage of any shifts in the way the world works. Now, let me just say, you have entire professions that are being disintermediated, right? The computer coders, for example, are being disintermediated by artificial intelligence. Understand, too, look through all the propaganda, all the corporate media campaigns. You have some big companies, the Mag 7, where they tell you that, cloud computing for Microsoft, for Amazon, for Google is all growing by leaps and bounds, and it's kicking off record profits, but yet, some of these companies are laying off workers, right? In other words, the company sees that the workers can be replaced. You could get the output without the labor costs. So people are getting laid off for structural reasons, not because the company isn't making profits, but because the company now can get their work output without having to pay them, right? AI is that good at computer coding, right? Understand, the system shift is so severe that if you're in college right now watching this video and you're, hoping to be a computer coder, you really do have to realize that your job prospects have materially changed over the last 24 months. That's the way it's going to be for actors, right? Let me say that what's coming is so big that no union is going to be able to stop it, because the demand for entertainment is international. The cost savings are substantial. Think about how much they're paying Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, The Rock, to be in blockbuster films, right? Scarlett Johansson. Folks, these artists earn millions of dollars. I'm not saying any of that amount is unearned, right? The odds of being a successful actor are slim and none, right? And these actors have beaten huge odds, have connected with an audience. Many people don't even know what the movie's about, but they will go to the theater because they've seen Tom Cruise movies, they've seen Dwayne Johnson movies, they've seen Denzel Washington movies, they've seen Meryl Streep movies, Robert De Niro movies, and they know the actor has integrity, the actor has a gift for picking great projects. They'll be in the theater, they will pay the price of admission to see their favorite actors. Now, that's the status quo right now, right? Here's what's coming. Within the last few days, an AI actor has popped up. Her name is Tilla Norwood. This is a AI creation. She looks like a real actor. She, sounds like a real actor. You can't tell that she's not a real actor. But since she is an AI creation, understand, she can be owned. Right? The creators literally own her. To have her in your movie, you don't pay her. You pay the people who own her. Right? Think of it as creative slavery. So, let's talk about the market for this development. Right now, one of the biggest movie franchises in history, James Bond, 007, is looking for a new lead actor. Right? Daniel Craig has done his run. The franchise is thriving. Each movie makes hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Right? And they're, negotiating with actors. They want someone the right age. They want someone they can do multiple movies with. They want someone who's easy to work with. Not a George Lazenby, who fans may have liked, but who on the set, I'm hearing, was a terror. But they want someone who's a joy to work with on the set. Well, folks, could you imagine, given the stakes involved, Amazon, of course, bought the franchise. Given the stakes involved, given the fact that whoever they hire is going to be the centerpiece of the franchise, you can imagine the owners of the franchise want to make sure that this person looks good. In other words, you don't have to worry about the actor balding as you did with Sean Connery. This actor needs to be in shape. James Bond's supposed to be a secret agent. Things are supposed to be blowing up around him. Sometimes he has to jump off a building. Right? Sometimes he has to fight some athletic guy in an elevator. Right? The guy has to appeal to women. Romance is a big part of the franchise. You have to believe that he's meeting with women who find him attractive, that, he could have multiple liaisons in a 2-hour movie, that he's desirable, that people want to be with him, that when he's in a casino, he looks the role that people want to know his name, so he gets to say Bond. James Bond. Right, folks? The character has to fit together. There are a lot of moving parts. He also has to be intelligent. Right? He's dealing with intelligence communities. When he gets an assignment and he hears that some diabolical international criminal is planning to take over the world, and that here are the plans, here are the people he needs to meet, here's the identity he's going to assume, you have to believe that he has the intellectual capacity to digest all of this news, to know the seriousness of it, to represent the United Kingdom. Now, could you imagine, think about your, being Amazon. Could you imagine if you're told that you could have this untested, young, temperamental actor play the role? Right? He could be brilliant in the role. Understand, Sean Connery had a multi-film deal. All of these James Bonds are supposed to have had. Maybe not George Lazenby. right? The problem was after some movies blew up, right? Goldfinger blew up. The old contract looked like it needed to be blown up, right? The old contract was signed when Sean Connery, who was brilliant in the role, wasn't internationally known. Now that he's internationally known and has proven that he works as James Bond, now that people are flocking to the theater, now that young kids want to be James Bond, right? You're dealing with an actor unhappy over his salary, even though he's perfect for the role, has shown market power in the role. Right now, you're Amazon and you're thinking, okay, those set of outcomes is a distinct possibility. If I pick an actor who, once he becomes better known, once he's accepted as James Bond, wants more, right? You know, what if you have another choice? What if your choice is having an actor you own? Right? There's no, strained feelings over how much that actor's getting paid for the next movie. Right? You know the actor's not going to have the paunch that Sean Connery had in Diamonds Are Forever. You don't have to worry that much about the actor aging well because you determine the rate at which this AI actor ages. Right? Understand, you can create the actor in a way to highlight the traits you want. Right? You need for him to be intellectual. We're in the world of AI. You can ask AI, what makes people look intellectual? Right? Which tone of voice out of these 100 samples is going to be appealing to women, is going to connote intelligence, is going to be understandable to the public, is going to appeal to kids. Right? Understand too, the AI actor goes hand in hand with the AI special effects. You have James Bond movies where parts of London are blowing up. In real life, London is one of the most expensive pieces of real estate in the world. But in an AI world, I can blow up buildings. Right? I can do things at a fraction of the cost that it would cost me to film stuff on location. Right? So I need for folks to figure out that this is far bigger than a Screen Actors Guild negotiation. Because there's too much at stake. Because too many people are making movies. Too many people want to see movies. AI is already in the building and entertainment. Right? Not only are movies using AI already for special effects, etc., but understand, one of the biggest families in AI, the Ellisons. Think Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle. Right? They've now bought a studio. All that cutting edge tech, all of the challenges that AI is dealing with, right? The need for energy, electricity, data centers, all of that. The Ellisons are already on the front line, right? Just look up a chart of Oracle stock over the last year. Right, folks? They're already in the building. They already understand the cost savings involved in using AI actors rather than real actors. Let me talk about another group that might find this appealing, and it's a shocker. It's the content creators themselves. Right, folks? You see me here. I'm wearing a blue shirt. The lighting on this video is a little bit off, but, this is really a passion for me. I actually have careers in other areas, right? Later this morning, I'm going to be in some court proceeding. So, by the way, that was my wake-up alarm. So let me just say, you have content creators who have thought to themselves privately, could I create an avatar that could be me and enable me to deliver videos, right? In my voice, the avatar would look like me. I could write out a script. The avatar could read the script, right? The avatar could do it in a tone of voice that people could understand. AI could take over the lighting and stuff like that. As it is, this background is AI generated, right? And, just understand, take Donald Trump, the President of the United States. He's been in movies. Now, Donald Trump's passion might be real estate, right? When he's not in office as a leading politician. His passion might be the art of the deal, right? Developing a building, getting tenants, putting in, amenities that people like, having his name on the building, whether that's in, Vegas, whether that's in New York City, whether that's overseas. That might be his real passion. But if he was told that his likeness could be duplicated with his permission, and that a movie could be made involving his likeness where he's fill in the blank, James Bond, Magre, Columbo, maybe he's the villain, Blofeld, right? And if Donald Trump was told, it wouldn't take away from his time as a real estate developer, his time doing things that he really wants to do. He might go for it, right? Understand, you might have actors too who might be tired of acting, right? They enjoyed it when they were young and hungry in their 20s. Let's say they were on, Broadway, then got discovered, then they ended up in big movies. But let's say you're 40 and you're thinking, hey, I want to, really spend time in philanthropy. I want to spend time fighting homelessness, child hunger, whatever the situation is, right? But someone comes to you and they say, hey, Gwyneth Paltrow, we want you to star in this movie, and guess what? With your permission, we'll clone your likeness, we'll get your presence, your digital presence, we'll have your voice in the movie. You can be in the movie without it taking up any of your time. Right? Here are the other stars who will be in the movie. They won't have to take up any of their time either. So if you have a Jones for working with Al Pacino, guess what? Al will be in this movie, and this will be your opportunity to work with him. You can approve the script, review it, offer us any insights, any revisions that you want in the script, and we'll incorporate them. Let us know if you want this. This best-selling author is the person who authored the screenplay. The subject matter is subject matter you're interested in. We know that because AI has told us that this author is one of your favorite authors, and this subject matter is the subject matter that you have written about in, TikTok or X posts or what have you. Right, folks? That's the future that's coming. Right? So understand too, once things jump the shark, you're going to have entrepreneurs who will start coming up with AI actors for sports events. Right? AI is going to develop to the point where the outcome can be uncertain. The outcome doesn't have to be predetermined. Think about the cost savings. How much is LeBron James getting paid every year? Right? What's the value of a max contract in the National Basketball Association? Understand, you could clone LeBron. You could look up his career numbers. You can clone Steph Curry. You can say, okay, he hits slightly more than 40% of his threes. We can make a player his size, his height, doing things at the frequency in which he does them. Right? Steph Curry is a better passer than you think. You could make the AI participant. Let's change the word actor to participant. You could make the AI participant do things as well as Steph Curry does. Right? Not necessarily better, not necessarily worse. But you can match Steph Curry's career numbers in a Steph Curry character. Hell, you could even get Steph Curry's endorsement for an AI league. Right? Understand. There's risk involved in having billionaires build arenas, get public approval. That takes years, right? And then hope that people come out. Right now, you have a situation in many cities, Vegas among them, where you have these big casinos and no one's in the casinos and stuff like that. You get in front of some billionaires and you say, hey, we can have a virtual league here, right? Without the risk of renting an arena or building an arena. How much is that new arena costing for the Washington Commanders and taxpayers? We can eliminate that part of it, have it be virtual, have a virtual Jaden Daniels. Perhaps we can reach a deal with some collective bargainer, the National Football League's Players Association, and we can put this alternative league on television. We can have the visual without the CTE risks, without the injuries to athletes, without aging athletes. Right? We can bring back your favorite players. Joe Montana, come on down. Jerry Rice, come on down. Coach Prime, we want your permission to have you in your prime playing DB for the Atlanta Falcons. Right, folks? That's the world we're in now. If you're an investor, you can say, I prefer live action to virtual action. That's not the question, is it? The question is there going to be a market for virtual action? If so, how big is it? Shouldn't I be an investor? Aren't there going to be profits from that world? Right? Sports like boxing. We're asking the question, many of us. How would Prime Usyk be against Prime Ali? Against Prime Sonny Liston? We don't even have the answer to how he would be against Prime Tyson Fury. Right, folks? In the future, we might actually have such events. Years ago, believe it or not, they had something called Super Fight. People were asking the question, Prime Marciano against Prime Cassius Clay, how would it turn out? And they got Marciano. They got Ali to play act it. Right? The actual Marciano, the actual Ali. Right? And they charged for it. They even had different endings, believe it or not. If you were in this country, you got that ending. If you were in this country, you got this ending. Right? It was pay-per-view. Well, now you can have pay-per-view fights like that. Right? We still haven't seen Prime Jake Paul against Prime Mike Tyson, have we? Right? So, just be aware that, in my opinion, this is unstoppable. I was on a website. They said, we'll clone your voice in 5 minutes. Right? I was looking to clone my voice because I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to have a video where I just, type out a script and then hit a button and have the video create itself in my voice. So I was on this site. Right? Folks, I did a voice recording. They then started saying things I didn't say. And I strained to tell the difference between the computer-generated voice and my voice. That was on a knockoff site in 5 minutes. You can imagine if entrepreneurs get involved and the resources increase into the billions of dollars because you're dealing with, intellectual properties like the James Bond franchise with proven market value. You can imagine how good it can be. What the Tilla Norwood story is telling you is they can put on a virtual AI actor and make it hard for the viewer to figure out if that person's even a real person. Right? Think it through. You love Denzel Washington at 70? Hell, you might be able to see Denzel Washington for the rest of your life. Right? Denzel might be able to live forever. Right? You can imagine, older actors especially, they're on the golf course, they're, in the old folks' home, they're on the retirement community. I have a contract, the person says, hey, I've really retired. I'm going to spend the rest of my days playing golf. And I say, hey, you don't even have to come on set. In fact, there's no set. Just sign this contract, be in this movie. You know what? Al Pacino's going to be in this movie. Morgan Freeman's going to be in this movie. Or at least their likeness with their permission. Right? That author you like, that book you mentioned in an interview that you really liked. Hey, that's the subject matter. Right? You're going to have a lot of people signing off on deals. Being in movies. Without being in movies. Right? Could you imagine, Denzel Washington has already made a movie called Malcolm X. Now that's from the early 90s. Just imagine if they said, hey, we're making a remake of this. Right? Especially given that back then we thought one group killed him. Now we know the people who were convicted of the crime weren't the actual killers. We now have more information. Let's say they're going to update it. And of course, because of AI, they'll be able to make the movie look much more extravagant. Right? Malcolm, lived in the earlier part, in the middle of the 20th century. You can now recreate, 1950s era Harlem, right? 1950s era Boston, right? He, was born in Nebraska. You can now digitally recreate all of that. So you go to Denzel Washington, he's already made a Malcolm X movie. Denzel's interested in the subject matter, and you say, hey, Denzel, we'd like for you to be in this movie. Right? Because Denzel, very popular actor, he was Malcolm X in the earlier movie. Only in this movie, he's going to play, fill in the name, right? The Malcolm story is a rich story. Many people are involved. You could have him play Alex Haley. You could have him play Elijah Muhammad. You could have him play a multitude of people. You could even tell him, hey, pick your role. We want you in this movie. Now, let's say Denzel is off on the golf course someplace, or Denzel is pursuing some of his life's passions. Let's say he's out, giving talks to young kids and stuff like that. He might sign off on a contract. Now he's in the movie without having to spend the time of being in the movie. That's what's coming. Right? You're an investor. You need to figure out how to invest in the Ellison Group, don't you? You need to figure out how the ownership structure is for these AI actors, don't you? Right? You need to carefully watch the James Bond situation. Technology is moving so fast that we've been talking about which actors might be cast as the next James Bond. Right? That question should extend to whether the actor's even going to be human. Understand the way it might play out. The need for stuntmen now, stunt people, has been greatly decreased. Now James Bond can jump off that building. Right? And you can have it where, it's the actor playing James Bond, only in AI form. We're going to have movies. This is CGI one step further. We're going to have movies where you'll have a live actor portion, but then you'll have parts of the movie where it's a digital copy of the actor. Right? I believe you already have that now. Folks, the future's here. Sadly, if you're an actor, your job prospects have been hit, just like the job prospects of computer coders have been hit by technology. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.